is week 2 in the NFL, and the Houston Texans and Cincinnati Bengals will play each other on a short week, so there isn't a whole lot of time to fix their problems. Cincinnati opened as a 3.5-point favorite, but that rose quickly to 6.5 points, with the Texans' quarterback position in a state of flux. The total is only set at 38 points for two teams that totaled only 7 points in week 1. The Texans and Bengals are both 0-1 straight up and against the spread. Houston had a touchdown after Deshaun Watson came into the game, but he didn't look a whole lot better than Tom Savage, while Andy Dalton looked atrocious for the Bengals. So we'll move ahead with a short week and two teams that want to forget that week 1 ever happened. It can make for a challenging handicap since Bill O'Brien and Marvin Lewis have both had their problems in recent years. Tom Savage was 7-13 for 62 yards before he gave way to Deshaun Watson. Savage was sacked 6 times. Watson went 12 of 23 for 102 yards, only a single touchdown, a pick, but 4 sacks. It was pretty disastrous season debut for the offense, especially because Bill O'Brien's reputation is that he is something of a quarterback guru. Neither guy looked really ready to play. The running game didn't provide much assistance, with just 93 yards on 23 carries. To make matters worse, according to Ian Rappaport on the Twitter machine, Deshaun Watson was seen limping on a bum angle into the team facility on Monday. With a short week and a learning curve, an injury is not particularly helpful. DeAndre Hopkins was targeted 16 times, so it seems like the game plan against the Texans should be to blitz the hell out of either quarterback and provide safety help on Hopkins. The Texans could very well be in trouble again this week. Injuries are also a concern, with Brian Cushing, Bruce Ellington, CJ Fedorowicz, Ryan Griffin, and Steven Anderson all in concussion protocol. Leonard Fournette hit the century mark in his NFL debut, but he did it on just 3.8 yards per carry. Overall, the Texans' defense played fairly well. Blake Bortles wasn't sacked and didn't turn the ball over, so that was disappointing, especially with J.J. Watt back in the mix. But the Jaguars managed just 4.7 yards per play. Houston was -4 in turnover margin and only allowed 22 points and 280 yards, so that was a decent performance. The Jaguars had a strip 6 and a few short fields to make the point total look a bit better. The Texans should get a better performance from the defensive line in week 2, given some of the weaknesses for the Bengals. But it may not matter if the offense doesn't do better than just 2.9 yards per play. For the Cincinnati Bengals, it was basically as ugly as a 20-0 final sounds. Andy Dalton completed 16 of 31 passes for 170 yards, but he completed 4 passes to the other team, with the Ravens having 5 takeaways and also 5 sacks on Dalton. It was one of the worst quarterback performances in recent memory. Tyler Eifert was a non-factor with 1 catch for 4 yards. A.J. Green got force-fed the ball 5 times on 10 targets for 74 yards. Dalton had very little time to go through his progressions, however. The losses of Andrew Whitworth and Kevin Zeitler were very obvious for this offensive line, and the replacements were among the worst at their positions. Giovanni Bernard and Jeremy Hill were moderately effective, but the running game became secondary due to the score. Cincinnati was down 17-0 by halftime. Red zone turnovers and awful offensive line play were the themes of the day. As ugly as it was for the offense, the defense actually played pretty well. Joe Flacco was just 9 of 17 for 121 yards and a touchdown with a pick. He was sacked just once. The Ravens ran the ball 42 times for 157 yards as they dominated the time of possession with a 34-26 edge. Still, the Ravens only had 4.5 yards per play against the Bengals defense. Cincinnati's defense was aided by the fact that Danny Woodhead left injured, but Houston's offense looks a lot like Baltimore's right about now, with a marginal running game and a subpar passing offense. DeAndre Hopkins is the wild card in this equation, since he's better than any wide receiver that Baltimore has, but the Bengals are set up for some measure of success this week. Regarding the total, it's tough to play an over after these two offenses look so painfully inept in week 1. But 38 is a lower total than we saw for the Ravens vs. Bengals game, and that was with quarterback Joe Flacco, who didn't practice all season, and a Ravens defense that was elite last season. This total feels like an overreaction, but will also need better offense for it to hit. This is a quick turnaround for both teams, but at least the Bengals get to stay home. It is a tough draw for the Texans to have Tom Savage play as bad as he did, and then to give Deshaun Watson a start with virtually just 1 day of practice. In all likelihood, the Texans had a loss day on Monday, a practice on Tuesday, a travel day on Wednesday, and a walkthrough on Thursday. That's a very tough spot for the Texans. The Bengals don't look much better, but they have an experienced quarterback with a solid defense. Our pick and prediction is for the Cincinnati Bengals at -6.5, and for this game to go under the total of 38 points. For our pick and prediction on this game and every other game this week, and a wealth of free stats and information, check out bangthebook.com.